If you watch Cade Cunningham play, it's like he's constantly flowing between maybe 20% speed and then 60% speed and everywhere in between. And yes, he'll put his foot on the gas at times and get to that 100%, but he truly controls his pace better than almost anyone I've ever seen. And this is one of the big reasons to me that he's been able to make such a big jump as a player, because he owns his pace, he owns every decision, he's rarely out of control. And when you're playing at this slower pace, and this is something that you can definitely see with Cade, every single shot is that much more on balance because you don't have to stop yourself from full speed every time and elevate directly into a shot. Every finish is that much easier to control. You're able to protect the ball easier. You're able to make sharper passes. Playing at a sub-maximal speed will help you execute these skills significantly easier. So in this video, I'm gonna break down the what, the why, and the how. The what is just the strategies that he uses. The why is why he uses these strategies, why they are important for you as a basketball player. And then the how is how to develop these things. You're gonna walk away from this video with more strategies to play at a slower pace, to throw defenders off with your speeds, and then also a feel for how to develop this. And if you want a full plan for this and thousands of other skills, qualities, concepts, make sure to check out our virtual academy, especially the Ultimate Development HQ, where you have access to literally everything you will ever need to develop as a player at the touch of your fingertips. Let's get into the video. So in a weird way here, understanding why to go fast will help you understand how and why to go slower. So when we talk about when to actually use your speed, most times it's when we are beating players off the bounce. So using your speed to create an advantage, most times this is going to be in ISO situations, or when you have a momentum or a speed advantage getting downhill on a player, maybe they're backpedaling and you can just use that speed to blow by them. Another time could be transition if you have an opportunity, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And then occasionally, if it's a race to the rim, you and one other player, and there is limited help defense, that may be an opportunity for you to speed up, beat them to the rim, and finish, hopefully under control. But other than that, you'd be surprised at how rare it is to have opportunities where going fast is better, or at least going at your fastest. Especially if we're creating advantages in other ways, like ball screens. So in situations like this, he doesn't need to use his speed because the screen does this for him. And then once his defender's on his back, he has the advantage, and well, that's what we'll talk about next. Maybe he's coming off of pin down, so getting a defender behind him that way, running a transition with a numbers advantage. And all of these, the advantage is created for him. And again, going back to what we said, speed is usually best to create that advantage in a one-on-one situation. And then once that advantage is earned, once you're shoulder to shoulder or even in front of a defender, it's not about speed anymore. It's about angles. It's about physicality. It's about strategy. And you can see in all these clips how creative he is, how smart he is with staying in front or just keeping that inside position without making it a race. So this could be cutting off the defender's angle. This could be slowing down even more to put them on their heels and then getting in front. This could be getting slippery, so getting your shoulder around the defender to earn even more of an advantage. And for Cade, he is a bigger body, so it is possible like this for him to create advantages or get good position by just using physicality. You'll see this with other players like Luka, of course, where even this advantage creation phase, they don't really need to go fast because they're just strong as hell and they can work their way down using physicality. But one of the biggest things I want you guys to understand going into this is that you can only play with really good pace if you are willing to play physically and if you're willing to really work on your angles after you create the advantage like this. Now, in situations where you are breaking down defenders off the dribble, this is where that old cliche saying, well, if you're going at one speed, you're easy to guard, definitely comes into play. Because we all know the players who are fast, like extremely fast, but they still can't get by players as functionally as much as some players who are constantly shifting their paces. And it really just comes down to unpredictability, which causes the defender to relax like you see here. And then when you do speed up, it's magnified. It's not like they're constantly ready and anticipating you bursting by them at that speed. So now you understand the nature of advantages and when you can slow down, when you use that speed. And one of the biggest benefits I want to talk about to going at those slower paces is elongating decision windows. I know it sounds a little bit complex, but just think about this analogy. So just imagine you're driving up to a traffic circle, roundabout, whatever you want to call it. If you don't drive, well, just imagine you're in the passenger seat. But as you're approaching that roundabout, you're not going to go into it when there's traffic going around it at full speed. It just doesn't make sense to do that. You're probably going to crash. So what do? Of course, you slow down, you perceive what's happening there, you wait for a gap, and then you go. This is how we should be approaching basketball too, right? Once you create an advantage on a defender, you don't need to put yourself at danger and be out of control. But so many hoopers figuratively fly into these roundabouts over and over and over again, and they end up out of control at the rim, losing the ball, making the wrong decision. And here's the thing, if it's a race, so you're going into a 2-lane roundabout here, one car that you're racing and then you, or even that car is in front of you, well, yeah, you're probably going to try to go in there at full speed because you can't waste any time. But if it's a one lane roundabout and you're in front, you can go as slow as you would like because the car behind you, they can't pass you and go into that roundabout before you. That's how you own your speed, right? And it's the same thing in basketball. If you can get that defender behind you or sealed off, you can enter that next layer, that help defense, that figurative roundabout as slowly as you would like to. And when you do this, not only are you in control, you have way more time to slow down, wait for the defense to make their decision, and for you to read that decision. Will they step over and leave the dump off open? Are they going to peel switch? Are they going to go to where you're looking off to or stay with theirs like this? You own that. And even if you decide it's the right decision to shoot it, or you make the quote unquote wrong decision and shoot a contested, tougher shot, again, you're at a more controlled pace. It's way easier when you're moving slower to adjust, adapt, and execute. Other times like this can be reading an initial defender too, like coming off a ball screen and using these momentary changes of pace, like this little heavy step. And of course, this throws them off and relaxes them a bit, but it also allows you more time to pick up information and make the right decision versus, again, always making it a race. Now, the next reason why this is so valuable for you is because it allows plays time to develop. Basketball doesn't always happen at the speed that you would like it to. Sometimes to draw two defenders or to get some gravity going, it can take a half second or a second longer. And like quarterbacks who can't sit in the pocket long enough for the receiver to get open, so many players pass before opportunities actually open up. Here, watch how he takes that extra second to wait for not only a harder commit from the big on defense, but actually allow his teammate to roll into space. Same thing here. Bigs on the pick and roll are 99% of the time slower than us, and giving them time to get out in front is essential, but it requires patience. And the difference between players who drive too deep into gaps and pass too late and the ones who are patient and pass at the perfect time is the speed that they go at. In other words, if he's going full speed and takes this next dribble, he's going to end up in the gap. He's probably going to turn it over. But because he's playing at a slower pace, he allows his play time to develop. He attracts two defenders, but not too much. They don't trap him, and he's able to make a nice pass. Even here, he's got two defenders running at him to trap him. Most players would panic, but he's waiting, he's chilling, he's going with that slow dribble because he wants two defenders to come to him. That's what creates a numerical advantage. And another thing to realize here too is that you don't need to get fully by them to wreak havoc in the defense. We talked a little bit earlier about creating advantages, but you don't always need a full advantage or a complete blow by. Like here, he doesn't get by the defender, but he still ends up in a nice position around the paint. The entire defense turns to look at him and he opens up a cutting opportunity. And then other times the defense is going to retreat as you attack them. Like here, the defender's moving backwards, so you can put some pressure on them without moving too fast, but by being a threat, using your body, maybe shifting them a bit, and then just keeping that composed pace. Next, I want to discuss transition pace, which is largely about understanding whether you have an advantage and where it is. So for example, Cade knows here that there's an advantage for him to get to the rim, so he's out, pedal to the metal. But if there's not a clear opportunity for him to get to the rim, of course his teammates where he would pass it, he's going to wait for his teammates to either catch up or to actually get ahead of him in dangerous position. So now they're pulling these defenders away and he's able to slow down and attack with pace. So by allowing these players to get to the corner, he actually opens up more space, and to do that, you got to slow down a bit. It's not a race to the rim. Again, not only does this allow the play time to develop and open up decision windows longer, but unlike so many players who get out of control in the fast break, he's way more in control to execute on any decision at any given second. And most times what this does is create a 2v1 where the guy in front of him has to choose between this and this. Or absolute worst case, a 1v1 where the defense is retreating and he can attack downhill. I'll take that. And then maybe the most nuanced version of this is pace on the catch. Just watch all of these catches. He's not holding the ball and killing advantages, but he's catching in slow-mo while picking up more information. This allows his next move to be far more informed and in control. And this is an easy one to work on and apply practically. Just make sure you're not catching, holding, killing advantages, because that's a very fine line. Okay, so now let's talk about how you can develop this as a player or a coach with your players. The first part here is developing the ball control qualities behind this. This is the easy part, but it's definitely a prerequisite. All right, I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it's easier than the next few, and you'll see why. First off, can you float the ball well? Can you keep the ball in your hand spinning without, of course, getting your hand under the ball and carrying it? This is not the 1970s anymore. We are allowed to do this. So instead of just working on pounding the ball through the floor, work on being able to flow with the ball a little bit, keep it in your hand for longer. Because if you can't slow down your dribble, then you definitely can't play with pace. And then can you do it dynamically? Can you align your body as well to move fluidly and slowly as you change speeds and levels with the ball? So we do a ton of stuff like this with our athletes and in our ultimate ball handling program, where we're not just building ball speed, but pace. Also, we got to be able to manipulate the ball while it's in our hand, of course, again, without carrying. And then also the ability to speed up from a slow dribble to a fast dribble, so that we can act on this pace. Now, the next part is building spatial awareness, which is not easy, but it's doable. In other words, knowing exactly where you are in space and where everyone is around you. This is essential for knowing exactly how much time and space you have to work with. How do you do this? Well, I would argue you cannot learn or develop this without playing a bunch of basketball. This could be pickup, this could be different small-sided games where you're getting pressured, you're in tight spaces. But this is why we do so much live training with our athletes, because there's no way to replace this when you don't have anyone defending you. There's no one else on the court. So I would strongly suggest focusing on this in your training, even if you just have one partner to work with. Now, third is literally rewiring your nervous system while you are playing to be more calm and in control. So many players get onto the court and their sympathetic nervous system, so the fight or flight, is on full go. They're moving fast, every single motion is at full speed, they're super hyped up, and you cannot play with pace that way. You have to literally, again, rewire your nervous system. Now, how you do this is, again, playing a lot of basketball with the intention of moving a bit slower, of elongating these decision windows, of trying to get your heart rate down a little bit. And this is partially why I've never fully liked the saying, go game speed, because what that tells players is that game speed is 110%. And of course, we, in a workout, want to at times go at full speed, but game speed is not full speed. Game speed is representative speed, and that's different for everyone, different in every situation. So even in your on-air workouts, yes, when you are trying to go at full speed, go 100%, but also slow down a little bit, try to rewire yourself to move slower and play around with different speeds. And if you just make this an effort while you hoop, and then you supplement this with different visualization and ball handling drills when you're by yourself, you're gonna see results here. But it also takes watching film, not only the highlights, but really understanding how they use this on a play-to-play basis. And I guarantee you, you're gonna be playing at a pace that you never imagined. If you enjoyed this video, definitely make sure to like, share, comment, the whole nine. I would greatly appreciate that. And again, if you're interested in training with us virtually, check out our virtual academy, or if you are interested in coming to Miami to train with us, check out our summer academy. We're gonna be at it all summer. It's gonna be a great time. Love to have you. Thanks for tuning in.